Hey there, Ruthhaven Grounds family. Let me share something that changed my entire approach to raised bed gardening. Last spring, I noticed my tomatoes weren't thriving like they used to, and my soil felt lifeless and compacted. When I dug down to investigate, I found almost no earthworms. Zero. These incredible soil engineers that should have been working tirelessly beneath my plants had completely disappeared, and I realized I was the problem. Today, I'm going to walk you through the 12 most common mistakes that are silently killing earthworms in your raised beds. Trust me, once you understand what's happening beneath the surface and fix these issues, you'll see a transformation in your garden that'll blow your mind. Let's dig in. I know, wood chips look beautiful and seem like the perfect mulch, but here's what I learned the hard way. Fresh wood chips are nitrogen thieves. As they break down, they pull nitrogen from your soil, creating an environment that earthworms simply can't tolerate. The microorganisms decomposing those fresh chips compete with earthworms for resources and oxygen, essentially suffocating your underground workforce. The fix is simple but requires patience. Age your wood chips for at least 6 months before adding them to your raised beds. Pile them somewhere in your yard and let them start decomposing. Or better yet, use composted wood chips or shredded leaves instead. Your earthworms will thank you by multiplying and creating that rich, crumbly soil structure we all dream about. Here's a mistake that nearly cost me an entire season's worth of soil health. Earthworms need moisture, but they also need oxygen. When you overwater your raised beds, you're essentially drowning these beneficial creatures. Water fills up all the air pockets in the soil, and earthworms literally suffocate because they breathe through their skin. Watch for standing water or consistently soggy soil. Your raised beds should drain within a few hours after watering. If they're staying waterlogged, you might need to improve your drainage with additional perlite or sand in the soil mix. I started using the finger test. If the soil feels damp 2 inches down, I skip watering. This simple adjustment brought my earthworm population back from the brink. On the flip side, bone-dry soil is just as deadly. Earthworms are about 80% water, and they need moist conditions to survive. During my first summer with raised beds, I went on vacation for 2 weeks, and when I came back, the beds had baked in the sun. The top 6 inches were dust, and I found dried-up earthworm casings throughout the bed. Maintaining consistent moisture is crucial. Add a thick layer of aged compost or mulch to help retain moisture. During hot summer months, I water deeply but less frequently, encouraging roots to grow deep and keeping that subsurface layer moist where earthworms thrive. An automatic drip irrigation system has been a game changer for keeping moisture levels steady. This one hit me hard because I thought I was helping my plants. Synthetic fertilizers are basically salt-based, and high salt concentrations are toxic to earthworms. These chemical fertilizers can burn their sensitive skin and disrupt the delicate pH balance they need to survive. Plus, when you rely on synthetic inputs, you're bypassing the natural nutrient cycling that earthworms facilitate. Switch to organic alternatives like compost worm castings, fish emulsion, or well-aged manure. These feed your soil biology, including earthworms, rather than working against them. Since making this switch 3 years ago, I've watched my earthworm population explode, and ironically, my plants are healthier than they ever were with synthetic feeds. Even organic-approved pesticides can harm earthworms if you're not careful. Many broad-spectrum insecticides don't discriminate between pests and beneficial organisms. I learned this when I sprayed for aphids and noticed a significant drop in earthworm activity over the following weeks. So, it's really best to focus on targeted pest control methods instead. Handpicking, row covers, companion planting, and, encouraging beneficial insects can work wonders without causing collateral damage. If you must spray something, make sure to research its impact on soil life first. Personally, I now use neem oil very sparingly and only on affected plants, never as a soil drench. Every time you break out that garden fork and go to town on your raised bed soil, you're potentially chopping earthworms into pieces. While earthworms can regenerate to some degree, excessive disturbance destroys their burrows, disrupts their breeding cycles, and honestly, kills many outright. I've adopted a no-dig approach for my raised beds, and wow, the difference is remarkable. I add compost and amendments right to the surface and let the earthworms incorporate them naturally. When I absolutely must dig to plant something, I use a narrow trowel and work carefully. The earthworms have really rewarded this gentler approach by creating incredible soil structure that barely needs any human intervention. Fresh manure is hot, and I mean like chemically hot. It generates tremendous heat as it breaks down, which can literally cook earthworms alive. I made this mistake my first year, thinking I was giving my beds a nutrient boost. The ammonia levels in fresh manure are also toxic to earthworms, and can kill them within just a few hours. Always use manure that's been composted for at least 6 months to a year. The composting process neutralizes the ammonia, reduces the heat, and makes the nutrients more available. When I switched to aged horse manure from a local stable, I noticed earthworm populations increase within just a few weeks. Earthworms are picky about pH, thriving best in soil between 6.0 and 7.5. When I tested my raised bed soil and found it was 5.2, suddenly the earthworm exodus made sense. Acidic soil irritates their skin and makes it difficult for them to process organic matter efficiently. Test your soil pH annually and amend accordingly. I add garden lime to raise pH or elemental sulfur to lower it, but I do this gradually over time. Rapid pH swings stress earthworms as much as the wrong pH does. Maintaining that neutral to slightly acidic sweet spot has made my beds earthworm havens. If you built your raised beds with pressure-treated wood, especially older lumber treated with chromated copper arsenate, you might be leaching toxins into your soil. While newer treated lumber is considered safer, the chemicals used can still migrate into your growing medium and create a hostile environment for earthworms. Consider rebuilding with untreated cedar redwood or composite materials designed for gardening. If replacing beds isn't feasible right now, line the inside walls with heavy-duty plastic to create a barrier. I rebuilt my beds with cedar 2 years ago, and it's worth every penny for the peace of mind and the thriving ecosystem I now maintain. So, earthworms feed on decomposing organic matter. Without it, they really have nothing to eat and, honestly, no reason to stick around. Early on, I actually treated my raised beds kind of like hydroponic systems, just focusing on plant nutrition and, forgetting about the life in the soil. Feed your earthworms by regularly adding compost shredded leaves, grass clippings or, other organic materials right to the surface of your beds. I usually aim to add a 1 to 2 inch layer of compost twice a year, spring and fall. This steady supply of food keeps earthworms active, breeding, and improving your soil structure year-round. Bare soil in raised beds heats up really quickly in summer, and freezes just as fast in winter. Both of these extremes will send earthworms into dormancy or worse, kill them outright. I actually noticed this pattern when my most exposed bed had virtually no earthworm activity compared to my shaded mulched beds. Keep your soil covered. Use mulch, cover crops or even cardboard in the off-season to insulate the soil and, moderate temperature fluctuations. In winter, I add extra mulch to my beds to protect the earthworm population so they're ready to work when spring arrives. And in summer, shade cloth over my beds has kept soil temperatures manageable during heat waves. Monoculture planting, honestly, creates a nutritional desert for earthworms. Different plants produce different root exudates and contribute various types of organic matter. I remember when I planted nothing but tomatoes in one bed, the earthworm population really dwindled compared to my diverse polyculture beds. So, mix it up. Plant vegetables alongside herbs and flowers, and include plants with different root structures, both shallow and deep-rooted varieties. This diversity feeds different beneficial organisms and creates a more balanced ecosystem that earthworms just thrive in. My most successful bed, hands down, contains tomatoes, basil, marigolds, and lettuce, all growing together, and it's absolutely teeming with earthworms. Looking back, I realize I was treating earthworms as an afterthought instead of the incredible asset they really are. These creatures aerate your soil better than any tool, create drainage channels, break down organic matter, and leave behind castings that are, get this, 5 times richer in nitrogen than regular soil. When you protect your earthworm population, you're honestly investing in self-sustaining soil health. Start fixing these mistakes today. Your earthworms will multiply, your soil will transform into that rich, dark, crumbly texture that's every gardener's dream, and your plants will reward you with vigorous growth and abundant harvests. If you found this helpful, do me a favor. Subscribe to Ruth Haven Grounds and share this article with your fellow gardeners. Let's create a community of gardeners who work with nature instead of against it. Drop a comment below and tell me which mistake you're fixing first, or share your own earthworm success stories. Together we're building healthier gardens, one raised bed at a time. Happy gardening, friends!